Wednesday, April 1st. Welcome to the Just Baseball Show. It's the headline show. We're going to go over the biggest moments, big time debuts from Tuesday's MLB action. And of course, we had a bunch of afternoon games that we're recording here 4:30 p.m. Eastern so we can recap a lot of Wednesday's action. That's Arm Layton. I am Peter Apple, and today's episode is brought to you by BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code JustBaseball when signing up, and you will get up to a $1,500 new player offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Just download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code JustBaseball. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. And if that bet loses, you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. And the Cavender twins are facing off in the Court of Legends game, and you can enter our Pick a Twin to win free-to-play game for a chance to win a share of $2 million in bonus bets. How to get this quick offer in 3 easy steps. Opt into the Pick a Twin to win free-to-play game. Select which Cavender twin, Haley or Hannah, you think will win the Court of Legends one-on-one basketball game hosted at the Bank at Bellagio in Las Vegas, Nevada. If the twin you select wins the game, you'll win a share of $2 million in bonus bets. Remember to use code JustBaseball to unlock it all. Aram, I hear you giggling. I get it. $2 million in bonus bets. Like,
that's a lot of.
Say,
I was also just thinking about. I would not do well with that. I don't think I'd have to heed your advice. I'd get too excited.
I don't think I could model that out. I don't think I could create. I could go to Claude and be like, which Cavender twin is going to win their one-on-one battle? And it is foolish. Like, it is. I'm an honest guy. But at the end of the day, BetMGM knows that $2 million in bonus bets, I just can't get over that. That's
what I'm saying. I don't know how I'd deploy $2 million in bonus bets. So it's a pretty awesome promo, and excited to see if anybody who comes out with it.
Absolutely. So thank you to everybody joining us here live on YouTube. And the best way to support this YouTube stream, make sure to just smash the like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on audio after the fact, 5-star review would be very, very appreciated. So on the Wednesday episode, I like how we're moving here. It's going to be big things that happen on Tuesday, and we can recap a lot of what happened on Wednesday. I have a bunch of players that we want to talk about, and let's just get straight into it, unless you got something off the top.
No, I'm in. I'm ready to go. There's a lot of fun names to talk about.
One quick thing. The first ever MLB game ended with a challenge as the Orioles beat the Rangers today. I thought that was pretty cool. Right.
Electric call as well. Absolutely electric call. I assume it's Kevin Brown. Jack will get mad at me if it wasn't Kevin Brown. Somebody else was filling it. I'm assuming it was Kevin Brown. He was awesome. Just like when they had the review, he timed it up perfectly, right? When they dial it up to the screen, and it was like Basayo for the win. And then basically like bang, right when they confirmed the strike call or overturned the strike call from a ball. I think it's abundantly clear, and we've been telling you about this. Jack, given his experience broadcasting AAA, me, given my experience of just being in the Arizona Fall League everywhere else, that even in the light, sparse minor league crowds, this was an element of fun.
Yes. And
I think it's abundantly clear now to big league fans that this is an element of fun. It's strategic as well. We're going to continue to see that side of it evolve, because I've seen some challenges deployed in horrible spots. But on the other side of it too, it just has become very clearly a fun thing for fans to gravitate towards.
It's so entertaining. Like, I'm one of those fans gravitating towards it. Whenever you get a challenge and you get that 3, 2, 1 kind of countdown, and then you see, like, there are some challenges. Taylor Heineman challenged one against the Rockies. I just watched it about 15 minutes ago as the Rockies beat the Blue Jays in a series. 51 more arm. 51 more wins till we're over 53.5 wins. But Taylor Heineman challenged a call, missed by a 1/10 of an inch. Like those where it's razor close. And I also, our guy Addison, who does a great job on our Twitter page, on our Instagram page, you probably already follow him on Twitter at AT Yankee World. He basically said that the people who are annoyed about how if it's barely touching the zone, how it shouldn't count for a strike. The definition of a strike is if it's touching the zone. Of course, those should be counted as strikes.
Yeah, you'd rather just you want to just flip a coin on every ball that's within an inch of the zone.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Why not have? I get that it's annoying because sometimes like, oh, that's the difference there, but like you have to have some sort of system. We've
Yes.
literally been flipping a coin our whole lives, unless somebody has laser beam vision, which no one does. These guys are really good, but it's the most clear-cut definition of a strike we've ever had. And I get that there's a little bit of an incentive on a borderline pitch that like maybe everybody accepts as a strike, looked like a strike, sinker that runs back off the plate, that everyone thought was a strike, and it ends up being off by 0.1 inches, and it's in a certain spot you challenge no matter what. It's part of it, man. It technically wasn't a strike, is what it is. I think the clear-cut thing, and if those are a couple of the frustrating in-betweeners in between, we've seen so many egregious misses already be overturned and make big differences in games. And I think that's the most important part of this whole thing. It's not even about the 0.1 inch misses. It's about the egregious ones that completely flip an at-bat on its head or flip a game on its head, which is going to continue to happen.
Couldn't agree with you more. We already got a game ending on a challenge. We got 10th of an inch challenges. I'm fired up with ABS. Let's get into some of our big time performances, and we're going to lead with an incredible debut. We're going to start with all the Tuesday stuff and then move into Wednesday's action. I want to start with Andrew Painter. Made his MLB debut for the Philadelphia Phillies, 5 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 8 punch-outs. His fastball averaged 96.7 miles an hour. He had all of his pitches working: the slider, the curveball, the changeup, the sinker, and the slider. And you might think to yourself, well, he did it against the Nationals.
Yeah.
There's been no hotter offense in Major League Baseball to start the season than the Washington Nationals, who again are battling against the Phillies as we speak right now. And that was a game started by Christopher Sanchez.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't use opponent to diminish anything that Andrew Painter did. It's got to be a breath of fresh air for you, because I know his minor league career he's gone through some ups and downs, Arm.
Well, it's funny because it's like technically yes, but it's like it's an up and like a straight arrow up.
Yes.
Then it was injury, so just whatever you want to call that, plateau, Tommy John surgery. And then last year was technically a down. And what I've been begging people for the last year now to realize and contextualize here is that, is it really a down? Even though the numbers weren't great in AAA, this was a guy that burst onto the scene. I know he's a first-round pick, but in terms of just what he did in his first full pro season, climbs 3 levels, dominates, then early going tries to, pitch through an injury, sees if he can come back from it and avoid Tommy John, can't. So it ends up delaying the timeline where he ends up missing pretty much 2 years. Then he comes back and it's straight to AAA, right? Mm-hmm. So it's off of this 2-year layoff straight into AAA after pitching most of his career at the lower levels. That's a huge leap, let alone for a guy that's coming off of TJ. And because Andrew Painter did not immediately succeed in AAA, everyone's like, oh no, I don't know. Maybe this stuff's not going to play in the upper levels. Yes, it is. It's going to play. I don't know if he's going to be an ace, but I know for sure this is going to be a solid big league arm for a long time. When you have 5 pitches, potentially 6 pitches really, and the fastball sits in the upper 90s, then all I'm hearing about is fastball shape. Yes, that could be the difference between what makes him an ace and what makes him more of a middle rotation type of guy. But fastball shape, when you're a 6'7" right-hander with 6 pitches in sitting in the upper 90s or at least 96, 97.
Yeah, he averaged 96.7 miles an hour. He was touching 98.
Fastball shape is not going to hinder him from being a solid big league starter. It can hinder him from being an ace, but not a solid big league starter.
We did see in the draft that Paul Skeens, there were problems with his fastball shape. And he's been terrible throughout his career so far.
Well, really bad start to the year this year, if you think about it.
True.
Maybe it's finally normalizing.
Well, that's what happens when Jack names you as the best pitcher in baseball over Tarek Skubal. It's your fault.
Your career falls apart.
Yeah.
The shape is better, though, I will say. So he's a guy now that I think also new baseball, right? The AAA ball just is totally changes shape for a majority of prospects. It's a total recalibration process for me, for teams, for prospects when you're analyzing these players. And then usually they get used to throwing that different ball, and then it's a little bit different with the big league ball. But the AA to AAA ball is really the biggest leap for these guys, and the AAA ball is very similar to the big league ball. He was losing some of the vertical life, and it was running more, and he's a cut ride fastball guy. So now he's gotten back to having that cut ride to it instead of losing more arm side where then the fastball gets more into the dead zone area. So when you have a cut ride fastball, like Painter is now leaning into more frequently here, and then the rest of the arsenal working off of it, he looks like he's in a really, really good spot. And again, when he is commanding, and I think that was the other part too, off of the TJ, he has 5 different pitches beyond the fastball that he's trying to find a feel for again. Some that he didn't even really throw that much before. He was mostly 3 pitches before. So it's like new pitches, still trying to find the feel again off of the rust of 2 years off. Like it was going to be a little bit of a process. I think clearly he took the offseason to get himself right, found a lot of the different things that were maybe, not going right for him. And now you have a situation here where he's got so many different looks. And I think the vertical tunnel that he can work through too, with the slider having good depth. He has a sweeper as well. It's more of a curveball, that has good depth. Then a gyro slider, a sweeper, a changeup, and then the four-seamer kind of staying more true to the vertical life now. As long as he's executing like that, he's going to be in a really good spot and be a huge X factor for this Phillies team.
This is someone that people should be picking up in fantasy baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. He'll have some bumps. Like I think there'll be days where the secondary command's not totally there. And when he needs to go heavy fastball to get back into counts, yeah, it might not be the get out of jail free card that Bubba Chandler's fastball is, which we're going to talk about. But when he's on, because of the deep bag of pitches, he's going to be able to cruise through lineups, I think.
Let's move over to Shane McClanahan, who is certainly cruising through the Brewers lineup through 4 innings, 4 no-hit innings, and then had a tough 5th inning. He ended the day 4 2/3, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. The average exit velocity against Shane McClanahan in his first start in over 972 days was 85.2 miles an hour. He averaged 95.4 miles an hour with his fastball, touching 97.4. The slider, the changeup, and the curveball all look sharp. Now, they did lose 6-2, and Shane McClanahan was pissed after. I want everyone to listen to his post-game presser, Podcast P. If you could quickly play the Shane McClanahan video. This fired me up, Arm. I'm really excited for everybody to listen.
Positives do you take away from your first start in 972 days?
We lost, so I'm having a hard time with that. I can give me an excuse of it's been 2.5 years, but I'm not going to do that. I want to win. I'm here to win. I got to execute better. I'm frustrated. Obviously, I want to win and help this team, and I'll let them down today.
That made me want to run through a brick wall for Shane McClanahan. Like 2.5 years of not pitching. Let's put that in perspective. Now, Podcast P, go follow him on Big League, on TikTok at Big League Analysis if you haven't already. He's also on Instagram. He's producing the show. He's a wizard, and he already put out a video. But these points just put the amount of time into perspective. So, it's been 972 days since Shane McClanahan last took the mound. In that span, Paul Skeens' entire career, including the minors, his entire pro career has happened in that span. Shohei Ohtani has won 3 MVPs. Juan Soto has been on 3 different teams. Aaron Judge has hit 130 home runs. And 21 of 27 career FWAR for Bobby Witt Jr. has been accumulated in that span. Absolutely crazy. And then he's talking about wish I executed a little bit more.
Yeah.
I was watching every single second of that start because I had Shane McClanahan over 14.5 pitching outs, and it was just a disaster of a loss. But what matters more is how good McClanahan looked early. Yeah, look at this play. This is how I lost this bet, Arm. Look at this. Cedric Mullins goes to tag him. That would have been the 15th out.
Oh, he dropped the ball.
Out, drops the ball. Welcome
Nothing like
back.
having the outfielder in on the relay, on the pickle. It usually means you had too many throws or something went wrong. But yeah, that's tough.
Welcome back to Betting on Baseball. But back to Shane McClanahan. 4 no-hit innings. Stuff looked good. You might assume that it would look worse than it did. And after the game, all he's worried about is the final score.
Yeah.
I love Shane McClanahan.
There were so many reasons to root for him. And you talk about a Rays team that has a fair amount of turnover. There is at least a few key guys here. You look at Yandy and you look at a few of the others that have stuck around a little bit. But Shane, I feel like, is that guy that you look at and say, this is the leader of our team. And it's really hard to do that, though, when you're not on the field. And I know that probably killed him because he's been doing everything in his power to be on the field. And I think a lot of people are more down on the Rays this year than in previous years. And I know the Rays typically outperform our anticipations and projections, but I think you and I would agree too that this is definitely the least intimidating Rays team we've seen in a little while. Doesn't mean they won't do anything. But that's also because we went into this year pretty much looking at Shane McClanahan as house money for them. Like, you can't bank on that guy to be available for you just because of how unfortunate the circumstances have been. And then what is he even going to look like if he is available? We entered the ladder here, which is good enough. Like, he's going to look really solid if he's available. I think obviously just getting deeper into the start, there's probably some things he needed to work through and just probably felt a little bit of fatigue at the end there. And that's probably part of the reason why he's frustrated. But McClanahan also, he lost his father just before the season. I can't imagine the emotions in that. And to overcome all of this that he has overcome personally, just with his body and trying to get back on the mound and so many frustrations and not a lot of answers. And then to deal with that personally as well. And then to get back on the mound. And, I think it could have been really easy. I think almost any human being would have been celebrating the fact that they're just back on the mound there. And again, just shows you how much of a team guy he is. And I think he can play a big difference, even just if he's available, even if he's not pitching to the best of his abilities, for what the morale and what that brings to this team, I think can go a long way for the Rays, maybe outperforming anticipation.
Absolutely. And, he went 4 2/3, but through 4 innings, he was at 51 pitches. And the reason I bring that up is they're going to need him to eat some innings this year because their ace, Drew Rasmussen, is pretty much a 5 and dive guy at the moment. And, they have Nick Martinez and Steven Matz at the back end of their rotation. But another big reason is this bullpen does not look as strong as in previous years. Like, we're used to the Rays putting out bullpens where we haven't heard of half of them, and that half end up competing to go to the All-Star game. Like this, the Rays are one of the best at building bullpens so far this season. It has been a disaster. Can that change? Of course it can. It's so early. We're through the first week of the season. But I do think that will matter. The Shane McClanahan needs to eat innings for this team, and I think he's certainly going to do so. Another really solid pitching performance from Tuesday's action, Kodai Senga of the New York Mets. He went 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 3 walks, 9 punch-outs. Now, the Mets did lose 3-0 to the Cardinals again on that Tuesday game, but it's not Kodai Senga's fault. He looked fantastic. Averaged 97.4 miles an hour with a fastball. The highest he's ever averaged was 95.8 back in 2024. And last season, now he made 22 starts, but it was up and down. The command wasn't great. 94.7 miles an hour last year. And I think Mets fans were left wondering, what are we going to get from this guy? Especially when they hear his name constantly in trade talks.
Very available.
I was just about to say that, like extremely available. So a guy who was extremely available 3 months ago, but then in spring training starts to dial it up to 99 miles an hour. Then in his first start, looked dominant. I mean, the command wasn't perfect. Like, it wasn't a perfect outing. He allowed 2 earned, but 9 punchies, averaging 97.5 on the heater.
I think, and we'll see if it sustains, but the reason why I think a Mets fan could be cautiously optimistic here is this guy's dealt with a lot of injuries since, coming over here stateside. I mean, we saw a little bit of a shoulder issue in 24, and then 25, it was calf, hamstring, maybe something else mixed in there. That's all that we know about. Who knows what else was going on with his body and what else he was feeling. It could be as simple as Senga adjusting the workout routine this offseason and simply just getting healthy.
Yeah.
If Senga's holding that velocity or even close to that, changes a lot, because we just felt like he was so one-dimensional in the past where it's that ghost fork. And then you're like, all right, what else are you really, really respecting? And also, you can just kind of go into at-bats there with the patience and the idea that he's probably going to be working from behind. He's got to go back to that fastball, and that fastball is a lot worse because it's not the best shape-wise at 94.7 than 97.4. So that does change a lot if he can hold it. I think this is a really interesting wrinkle for the Mets if Senga is able to even be anywhere close to this velocity-wise, because that also doesn't just help the four-seamer, helps the cutter, which now is at 90.5 instead of about 89. It helps the sweeper, which is a tick harder as well. Like all these other pitches that were fine or pretty good now are playing up a little bit more as well.
I think that's a great point, because when, a fastball is coming in at 94.7 miles an hour, I think about that forkball might be a little bit easier to adjust. But when you got a heater coming in at 97 miles an hour, you basically have to decide. At 94, maybe you can adjust a little bit more. At 97, there is no adjustment. And then he'll go with the cutter or the other breaking ball that he has. Like this, we can't forget, like when Kodai Senga's on, he's posting ERAs under 3. That's how good he can be.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just the command. The command's still going to be the important variable here too. Like it doesn't need to be great, but it needs to be better than bad, which was what it was last year.
And I think this start was a good example of that, right? The command wasn't great, but because the stuff was so good, he was able to give them 6 innings of 2-run ball with 9 punchies. If the command does get better, watch out for Kodai Senga on the New York Mets. All right, let's move over to a guy who also struggled mightily with command in his first start in 2026, and that is Bubba Chandler of the Pittsburgh Pirates. 4 1/3, no hits, 6 walks, 6 Ks. Now, the Pirates did win 8-3 over the Reds. The crazy part about Bubba Chandler, it's basically all heaters. 74% four-seamer usage, averaging 99.1 miles an hour. Don't forget about the 93.5-mile-an-hour changeup or his 90-mile-an-hour slider. This was a guy who we talked about, I bet the Pirates over on wins on BetMGM. We talked about the Pirates in our season preview, and we've talked about Bubba Chandler at length, especially as he worked his way through the minor leagues on the call-up. And it's kind of been the same story. Mm-hmm. If this guy is just in the zone, he has ace-level stuff.
Yep.
And this was a weird example of he wasn't really in the zone, and it still didn't matter. That's how good the stuff is.
He was in the zone like 40% of the time, and he had a 53% strike rate. I'm trying to figure out how to look at this. So there's 2 ways to look at it. One, it's that not good, need command to be better for Bubba to reach the ceiling, right? Sure. The other is he probably won't be worse command-wise than this, like, ever. Like, this is the worst, right? He's flipping the glove up. Like, hitters are going up there saying, okay, he's not throwing strikes, and I know that there's a 75% chance I'm seeing a fastball. So they're going up there sitting fastball and still did not pick up a hit with traffic on base as well, right? Like, a lot of those ABs were the runners on because he walked 6. You're getting up there with runners on, knowing a fastball is coming, and nobody on that Reds lineup can pick up a hit. Am I encouraged by the fact that Bubba Chandler can be that bad command-wise and still have hitters struggling with his effective wildness? Or should I be discouraged that the dude walks 6 in an outing? I feel like both. It's got to be better than that, but I also, like, my mind kind of twists and turns on that. Because I know he's capable of throwing way more strikes than that. And he has a good slider and he has a good changeup. They just weren't even options for him in that start. And you can't eliminate your own pitches for hitters. But maybe you can. He did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're listing out all the problems. He didn't allow a hit. And it's not like the Reds offense is the Dodgers, but it's still a good offense. It's still
in Great American
ballpark. It's still a respected offense. You got Sal Stewart. You got Ellie De La Cruz. You got multiple hitters in the lineup swinging the bat well. And he no-hit them. The problem is it was 6 walks. I don't really know what to think, but the reason I lean towards more encouraged rather than discouraged is we were talking about it in our Discord, the best baseball group chat in the world. You can find the link to join in the episode description. One more day of the 3-day free trial. So if you do want to join, that's where you can find the link to join the best baseball group chat in the world. And a person in there thought to themselves, is this just right-handed Blake Snell? Because who's been annoying but lethal in his MLB career? It's a good example. Blake Snell, 2-time Cy Young Award winner, but sometimes when you're watching Blake Snell, it's a war just to get through 5 innings because he's at 4 1/3 and at 100 pitches already because the command isn't there. But when he's on, he's untouchable. And that's what it looked like for Bubba, where whenever he was just in the zone, good luck.
Yeah.
The problem was it was 6 walks. Like, is that a crazy comp to consider?
He uses the fastball more, but I'm trying to think back of like maybe stretches where Snell didn't have it and he's going fastball heavy. Like, I think Snell has a little bit more like shapes to him, but at the same time, I think it's similar where, I mean, you're getting a better fastball with Bubba. And again, he's still got the 2 secondaries as well that are fantastic. And then the curveball just to taste break. It could be a similar type of situation there. The funny thing is I've never been able to fully figure out exactly what Bubba's command outlook is, because I've seen stretches where the command is good. This is an athlete out there on the mound, mind you, a really good athlete, guy that was committed to play quarterback at Clemson. And then you see stretches where he just can't time things up. So I don't hate the comp, and it might be a similar type of up and down there. But again, the fact that he can go 75% fastball, even with sporadic command and not give up a hit as deep into an outing as he did, is I think a testament to just how tough he is for hitters.
But maybe the best debut of 2026 was Jose Fernandez. Hitter on the D-backs, homered in the 4th inning of Tuesday's game, then had the go-ahead 3-run home run off Kenley Jansen. Jose Fernandez is 22 years old. He is 16 years younger than Kenley Jansen. 3 for 4 day with 4 RBIs in his first ever game. And Logan, our guy who does a phenomenal job again on our Instagram and on our Twitter, put up this video, Arm. Look at this swing. Jose Fernandez, for all those listening on audio, being compared to Carlos Correa, who also hit a 3-run shot off Garrett Crochet today.
It does look pretty similar. Sometimes I generally hate those. I will say I love Logan. I generally hate those. That is pretty uncanny swing-wise. I will say that Fernandez and Correa do have pretty, and the point being there, and one of my favorite things about Correa is the simplicity of his swing, right? It's so repeatable, and he puts himself in a position to just consistently get his best swing off and hit the ball hard. And Fernandez is an interesting one, because when I was out in Arizona, that was the name that continued to come up of just a guy that, they were excited about, and that was after they added him to the 40-man roster to protect him from the Rule 5. And he's a player that really came out of nowhere. There was some hype early in his professional career. He never really was able to put it completely together in the early going. But I think at points people kind of looked at him as just like, valuable defender that could move around at a lot of different spots. And then this past year just added some physicality in 24, and all of a sudden just started launching homers. I mean, or in 25, excuse me, heading into 25. He had 7 homers in 2024 in 103 games, and then he hit 17 in 122 games. The biggest part too is I think you look at the versatility here, where he's a guy that can. The Diamondbacks really liked how he was playing at shortstop and how much he's been able to hold that position down. Again, that was kind of a calling card for him, but they liked even more the fact that he could move around. It's a guy that was playing third base, he can play second base, he can play the outfield. He can kind of move wherever you want him to if you really need it. And I think it was a big part of why they were willing to move off of Blaze Alexander. They said, we have this utility guy at home. The one thing with Jose Fernandez is he's uber aggressive. Like, he's going to swing at a lot. But for a guy that's not playing every day and coming off the bench and usually being put in spots where you want him to succeed and plugging and playing, I'm fine with that. Like, go get yours. It worked in this instance. Maybe teams will adjust a little bit and see if they can, get him to get himself out a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot to like here. And it's a big reason why, they were willing to move Blaze Alexander for a relief arm and move, Jose Fernandez into a position where he could probably be their utility guy.
Podcast P dropped this in our private chat. 83% hard hit rate in spring training for Jose Fernandez. 18 batted ball events. 83% hard hit rate. Remember, it's a percentage of balls hit over 95 miles an hour. And then in his first MLB game as a 22-year-old, goes 3 for 4, 2 dingers. One of those dingers was the go-ahead home run. They were losing 5-4. My only question is, because, again, it's his first game. Should the Diamondbacks fans really think that this guy is going to be a consistent guy in the lineup? Or are we just kind of enjoying good baseball right now from Jose Fernandez?
I think he's a hot hand that the Diamondbacks, there's a reason why they wasted no time bringing him up. And I think it was like, hey, let's ride this hot hand here. They added him to the 40-man roster because I think they know that they've got a big leaguer here. But I think the approach is probably going to need to get a little bit better. The swing can get a little bit long. I think there's probably some hurdles to reaching his ceiling of, an everyday big leaguer here. But I think this is a player that's going to be on the Diamondbacks for a little while here, and he's going to fill a lot of different roles. And remember, the depth is kind of thin here all of a sudden for this team. And so to just have another guy that you can plug and play, I think he's going to be that type of player that fans always want to see play a little bit more, but you don't at the same time because, when you thrust him into an everyday role, it may not look as sexy. You put him in good positions to succeed. You utilize the versatility, and I think he's going to be a great complementary piece for a team that really just needs complementary pieces on the offensive side.
Absolutely. And our last big-time player on Tuesday, Shohei Ohtani. Ever heard of him? He made his pitching debut in 2026, and he was just phenomenal. 6 innings pitched, only gave up 1 hit, no earned, 3 walks, 6 punchies, and a 4-1 win over the Guardians for the Dodgers. Touched 99.2 miles an hour, flashed 6 different pitches. Now, Ohtani, the hitter, hasn't shown up yet. Hasn't hit a homer, has no RBIs. He's hitting 200 with a 655 OPS. And, of course, this is before Wednesday's game. I don't care about what he's doing offensively to start the season. Guys get off to tough starts. It doesn't matter. But on the pitching side, that's why even people like myself go, this is a top 10 talent on the mound. Mm-hmm. Now, he's not a top 10 pitcher because he doesn't go consistently 160, 170, even 180 innings. But we see the stuff in the playoffs and we see it in the regular season. It's just not expanded. That's why he's not on these top 10 lists. But from a pure talent perspective, from a pure stuff perspective, he's one of the best in baseball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he was dealing with the elements too. I mean, like it was sloppy out there. The rain, the mound was really like muddy. And I was surprised actually that they left him in with those conditions, with the pitches. He threw 87 pitches and the conditions weren't great. And just battling through that, the shapes are just crazy. Like when you see the sweeper and the action that gets, and then you see the splitter and the opposite action that gets, and then you see the 2-plane curveball, and then you see the gyro slider. Like his pitch plot is so spread out. Yeah. And I think that's what makes him so amazing. And then the way he throws, it's just he works down the mound so well, and it's so athletic and aesthetically pleasing. He's must watch. Not because he's doing both. I mean, that's the coolest thing ever, too. But I think he's just must watch as a pitcher alone because of how the stuff moves, how he moves on the mound, and what he's capable of when he's on.
Absolutely. All right. Before we get to Wednesday's action, Podcast P, can we get our first whoosh? All right. Let's talk Wednesday baseball. And I want to start with a couple of performances from your Miami Marlins. Now, we're going to talk Sandy, but I want to bring up Liam Hicks first. He had a homer today to give him 3 homers and 12 RBIs. Those 12 RBIs lead Major League Baseball so far. Mm-hmm. Today, he went 3 for 4 with 4 ribbies. His batting average is up to 467 with a 1659 OPS. Another good young hitter on the Marlins, and we've seen a lot of them so far. I know they've only played the White Sox and the Rockies so far, but you can only play who's in front of you, and they've been consistently winning games, getting great performances from their young players. That's what we want to see in Miami.
This is another example, like where I think you just see the Marlins and the way they're operating now, and you say, okay, the Marlins 3-4 years ago are not identifying a Liam Hicks in the Rule 5 draft. They're just not. The guy didn't even play in AAA. I really liked Hicks when I saw him in the Arizona Fall League because of the bat to ball, but it was kind of like, okay, he might be a fringy defender, contact-oriented catcher. Where do you get the value there potentially? Well, you develop him a little bit as a defender, and now he looks like an average defender or close to it, and you develop the power. And I think that's the biggest thing. He was on a bat speed program going into this year. And, you look at Liam Hicks' numbers last year, really solid player because of the bat to ball and the quality at bats. But you still look at it and say, for him to be that, like, a more regular player, you need more juice, right? He's added a couple miles per hour in bat speed here. And is he going to be a 30 home run threat? No. I know he has 3 already. But if Liam Hicks hits 15 home runs with his contact skills and his on-base skills and the fact that he's a serviceable catcher now too, that's a guy that's quite valuable. So I really feel like the bat speed program, and I know the Marlins have really pushed that hard on their players. I think it's part of the reason why they've had some players get hurt, but it comes with the territory of working hard and trying to add this strength. It's also part of the reason why the Marlins have had some of the biggest bat speed gains in Major League Baseball, and have had a lot of these players that a lot of people were kind of overlooking make these leaps and have the success that they've had. But some players I don't think need it. Liam Hicks is a perfect candidate for this type of program. And if he's even close to average big league pop, now the Marlins have a really interesting situation with the catching side of things if Liam Hicks continues to do this, because you have him, you have Agustin Ramirez, who also has looked better defensively. He's actually throwing runners out a little bit now. And then you have Joe Mack knocking at the door in AAA. Good problem to have if you're the Marlins, but something that I think is going to be interesting to sort out, as we get closer to June, July.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, but it is difficult to sort out because you have Joe Mack, who is a defensive specialist. Would you say he's the best defensive catcher in the minor leagues?
He's the best defensive catcher in the Marlins organization right now. And then, I would say in the minor leagues, just about.
So you'd call him up and he'd instantly be one of the better defensive catchers in Major League Baseball. But I think it's the bat that's lagging behind just a little bit.
Power, a lot of whiff. So it's like, just can he close the whiff? But we've talked about it, like the offensive barrier to success. Look at Patrick Bailey. If Joe Mack hits 210 with a 290 OBP and hits 20 homers, with his defense, it's probably going to be close to 3 WAR. So they have a really interesting situation there that I'm fascinated to see how it continues to develop. But, I have a feeling Liam Hicks is going to continue to get himself some ABs. The Marlins first base situation with the injuries that they've had opens up more of a pathway for Hicks. So talk about fantasy baseball. They're going to find at bats for this guy. So if I were you, like with the positional versatility and you need a guy, catcher, first base, just need a bat, Liam Hicks is not a bad player to pick up.
So the Marlins got to decide between the defender and Joe Mack, the hitter and Agustin Ramirez, or a blend of the two in Liam Hicks. Again, it's a good problem to have. Do they potentially trade one? Do they put one at first base? What are the Marlins going to do? Again, we'll update you here on the Just Baseball show, but let's move over to Sandy. Sandy Alcantara was just Sandy today.
Yep.
9 innings pitched, complete game, 3 hits, no earned, no walks, 7 punchies against the White Sox in a 10-0 win. Shout out Otto Lopez for hitting a dinger for my fantasy team. But it's all about Sandy, who, again, pitched a complete game in under 100 pitches. It was a Maddox. He's thrown 16 innings so far without allowing a run with 12 punchies. He joins Livan Hernandez in 2010, Clayton Kershaw and Andrew Albers in 2013, and Shane Green in 2015 as the only other pitcher since 2010 to pitch 16 innings without allowing an earned run through their first 2 starts. And Podcast P sent out this tweet on his Twitter. Last 15 starts for Sandy Arm dating back to 2025. He's got a 2.80 ERA over 99 innings pitched. Peter Bendix came out and he said, I think we're going to get vintage Sandy this year. And so far, he's been proven exactly right.
Yeah, no, you could say like it's the Rockies and the White Sox. The White Sox had a pretty good offensive series prior in Milwaukee, and the Rockies just had a pretty good series in Toronto.
If you throw 9 innings, a 3-hitter, I don't care. These are major leaguers. I don't care.
I agree with you. And they put up some pretty good at-bats with the White Sox in other games, against the Marlins too. So Sandy, I think there's a few things here. One, I think you saw a continuation of what was a much better Sandy at the end of last year, just with the way that he was locating the sinker, the changeup. They also had a sweeper added to the equation here. And I think that really does change things for him. When you talk about the pitch plot for Sandy, you're going to have a lot of similarity with the 4-seamer, the sinker, and the changeup. And those don't have a ton of shape separation. And sometimes it can kind of be a hard and harder thing. And then the slider, it was kind of such an easy pitch to pick up compared to everything else because it was such a different throw for him and moved so differently than everything else that I felt like it didn't perform quite the way that it could. And also even then, it was very close in velo band, and then the slider was like the one difference. So you'd have the brakes on that, I think, being able to be picked up a little bit more from hitters. The sweeper's now even a couple ticks slower than the slider. So now he has a third velo spot there that I think helps him a lot too. And it makes it hard to distinguish between the two of the slider and the sweeper here as well. The other thing is that it allows him to just cut into that sinker usage a little bit, because I think the sinker and changeup, you don't want to have that cadence be too frequent because they overlap a little bit. And I think when he's at his best is when he's getting guys to roll over on that changeup and then kind of jam you or catch you looking for that changeup and get you with the harder sinker or the 4-seamer. So I think just being able to get into a little bit of a different cadence, because I think before hitters were looking for everything. If you're a righty running in on you, if you're lefty running away from you, and it being hard and harder. Whereas now you got to worry about a sweeper if you're a lefty running in on you. A slider's now kind of doing that. If you're a righty, it won't running away from you, and then everything else still going arm side. I think he's set himself up here now with the execution, with the little bit more diverse arsenal to really have a lot of success here. And I think it's giving him a lot of confidence too, because it just seemed like last year at points, hitters were just kind of counting on the high probability that it was going to be sinker or changeup. And if it was a slider, the slider just didn't have enough teeth for them not to be able to react and spoil it with a B swing. Now you got another pitch you got to think about. Andy's locating. I think this is going to be a continuation of the Sandy that we saw down the stretch last year.
Can I say that was even a more beautiful breakdown than his 9-inning Maddox? What a
Thank
breakdown.
You.
Well,
thank you.
Just a Picasso up there. You're just
Thank
painting
you.
strokes. Bars from arm. Let's see what he says about Shea Langliers. Shea Langliers hit a homer today off Chris Sale. The only hit that Chris Sale allowed over 6 innings. He went 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned. He's awesome. But I want to talk about Shea Langliers. 5 homers on the season for the No City Designation Athletics while hitting .375 with a 1,400 OPS. Something that I noticed about Langliers as well, his bat speed is up nearly 2 miles an hour from last year. The A's offense in general has gotten off to a pretty rough start. Right, Jacob Wilson is hitting like 170. Nick Kurtz hasn't really done much yet. Brent Rooker, I think, is hitting below 150. It has not been a great start overall for the A's, but in the middle of that lineup, you got a catcher that's on pace to hit 180 home runs. Now, obviously, he's not going to, but 40 could certainly be in his future. And with Langliers, last year, it was mediocre defense, right? Mediocre. If he could just be mediocre with 40 home runs, you got a poor man's Cal Raleigh here. Now, what elevates Cal Raleigh over Shea Langliers is that Raleigh is one of the best defensive catchers in Major League Baseball. But if you're telling me we have a similar bat potentially with lesser defense, I mean, at 28 years old, this is as exciting of a young catcher as there is.
Can we also, were you aware that he was in the 81st percentile in sprint speed last year?
What?
Yeah. I was just looking to see that because you mentioned the bat speeds. I was like, I wanted to see the shift in metrics. I dial up Baseball Savant. I just see 81st percentile in sprint speed.
How did I miss that?
How did I miss? I don't know. But this is clearly an impressive athlete. If he's moving the bat faster, the angles have already been good. He's a guy that's always hitting the ball in the air, right? It's always been around. Entering this year had a 17-degree average launch angle. League average is about 12. He hits the ball hard already. His average exit velocity is about 91 miles per hour entering this year, close to it. League average is about 88.5. So if he's moving the bat faster now, because I would say that's probably the area where it's closer. Like you'd think the EVs would be a little bit higher, but it's like, okay, it doesn't matter because he's crushing stuff in the air. If he's moving the bat that much faster with the angles that he creates, Langliers could hit 40 this year. And he had 31 last year. You put him in that ballpark where it's rewarded to hit the ball in the air. And the thing is he doesn't have to go pull side always, especially when you're swinging it that fast now too. You're going to backspin baseballs. 2 were dead central. I'm very excited to see this extrapolated because, you can look at bat speed and say it's a small sample, but when it's this much faster, when it's a couple ticks faster in the early going, it usually can be emblematic of something that somebody worked on in that offseason.
Because last year he hit 31 home runs, but he only hit 5 to the opposite way. Most of them were pull side jacks. So if you're telling me we could maybe increase that to 10, double it, get 10 Oppo tacos this season from Shea Langliers, I mean, that's how we get to 40 home runs. And I think you made a good point about the park. He hasn't even been to Sutter Health Park, I think, if I remember the name correctly, of that minor league stadium out there in Sacramento where it's super easy to hit. He's going to get a bunch of home games. He hasn't had one yet. All of these home runs are coming off the road, and one of them, again, today came off Chris Sale. Pretty good.
Yeah. This is one where I don't want to overreact, but I know he's punching a little bit so far, but I don't know. Yeah. This might be fun to watch here. He might have unlocked another gear.
I'll take the punchies. Strike out. Sure. I mean,
Okay.
he's not a perfect player. Every player has their deficiencies. So if you're telling me I got to live with a 27% K rate and he's hitting 40 homers and playing average defense behind the dish, yeah, I'm good. Shea Langliers, pay attention. And definitely for fantasy owners, I would get all over him. And maybe the second best hitter on the planet. Is that fair to talk about when we're mentioning Yordan Alvarez? Today, and this is before we press the record button, he was 2 for 2 when I was writing my notes. I'm checking the score right now to see if he just got another hit in the game. I'm pretty sure the Astros won today. Yes, they beat the Red Sox 6-4. Let's see what his actual day was. I mean, he was 2 for 3, and now his batting average is .417 with a 1480 OPS, and he's got 3 home runs already, but it would have been 4 if one didn't get stopped by the roof of Dyke.
Yeah, I was going to say, he literally got robbed of his furthest home run. His furthest home run didn't count.
Exactly. He's off to such a good start offensively. He leads MLB in FWAR and doesn't play defense. Joey Weimer did get out.
Joey Weimer beat?
Well, after today, he's going to have Joey Weimer beat, but at the time of without today's stats, they were tied. And we got to remember Joey Weimer hadn't gotten out yet and was playing center field. That's how destructive Yordan Alvarez is when he's up to the plate. Watching him, it's so good too, because you remember that when he's healthy, this is as intimidating of a force as we have in Major League Baseball, right? And you'd say Judge is the best hitter on earth. Maybe you'd say Soto is number 2, but Yordan Alvarez, when we're looking at career WRC plus, he's at 160. It's outrageous. Yeah. Whenever he's on the field, this is as terrifying of a hitter as we have in the game.
And he's, I mean, when you talk about the Astros, the perspective on them, right? I think it's kind of a similar conversation, but even more so, I think even more exaggerated where, yeah, I understand why you were a little bit down on the Astros, and you could probably be right, especially with your history on your futures picks. However, you were probably banking on the fact that there's no way 140 games of Yordan Alvarez happen. Even if they do, I know they have the other deficiencies. But if there's one person that could probably flip everything on its head, because again, your analysis is super sound.
Yeah.
But if Yordan gives you 140 games at peak Yordan, how much does that change the outlook on this Astros team?
Because it was so hard to project Yordan for this year, because I know that when he's on the field, the guy's outrageously good. But the problem is, hasn't really been on the field that much. So is it fair to project 140 games? I don't think so.
No, it's not.
Right? But if he does that, let's say he plays 150. Why are we stopping him? Why not 160? Let's say he gets a full season. I'm in trouble. And the Astros are looking to move to a 6-man rotation. I do think that the pitching is going to be a problem, especially in the rotation. And the bullpen isn't quite as strong, especially with Hader on the IL. He will eventually come back. It just doesn't feel as scary of a bullpen. But when the Astros have been facing the Red Sox this weekend, and they're just bludgeoning the baseball, like Burrows doesn't have that great of an outing. Okay?
Yeah.
They put up 6. So if this offense led by Yordan is this good, I'll lose this bet because they'll just outslug their opponents.
Yeah. And that's the part that, like, I didn't see the offense being this, and we'll see if it continues, but like, it's a little bit more dynamic. And, again, Pena extrapolating on what he did last year, Altuve looking a little bit better out of the gate. We'll see if all those things sustain. But what I think is abundantly clear in what he does for this lineup, and you talk about the galvanizing aspect with McClanahan. Can you imagine how galvanizing it is to have Yordan available and on this team? The other thing, Podcast P put this up. Yordan versus active Cy Young winners is hitting .414 and 86 plate appearances. That's 29 hits, 8 homers. That's ridiculous. Average exit velocity at 95 miles per hour. He's such an anchor in this lineup, though. Yeah. I feel like all the guys around him, you almost feel like your role is a little bit more complimentary. You can just lean into what you need to do. That's the big difference I've seen. Is it just the anchor that he is for this lineup and how it allows everybody to do their thing around him. If he's healthy for the whole season, that's the difference, I think, between the Astros reaching their ceiling. And I know that's not hard-hitting analysis.
It's such a good point, too, because not only is he the anchor in the lineup and he's producing, I think it takes a little bit of pressure off some other guys, right? Like Altuve doesn't feel like he has to be the power hitter. Jeremy Pena doesn't feel like he has to do everything.
He was their best player last year, Pena.
Exactly. Carlos Correa could just relax. and let the ball come to him and then hits a home run off Garrett Crochet. Yainer Diaz, Christian Walker, they don't feel like they have to live up to middle of the order bats. They could just be good 6-7 hitters because you have Yordan Alvarez in the middle who's going to do everything for you. So it elongates the lineup. It makes it so much scarier. He is just such a good hitter because Yordan Alvarez, we're not just waiting on 50 homers. He can hit 30 homers and be one of the best hitters in baseball because his bat to ball is so sound. He hits the ball so hard. He puts up such great at bats. He's got a good eye for the strike zone. He's just such a well-rounded hitter. And that's why I don't feel like I'm being hyperbolic when I say he could be the second best hitter in all of baseball. Yeah. It doesn't feel wrong for those words to come out of my mouth.
He's one of the few players that I think can give Judge that run for his money when he's right because of the blend of hit and power.
There you go. So let's move over to, last but not least, I really wanted to talk about Matthew Liberatore. Matthew Liberatore today against the Mets. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 2 punchies. He's allowed just 2 earned runs in 11 innings so far. And that's great, right? But a lot of guys get off to good starts. Why am I bringing him up? Well, I was looking at the Stuff Plus leaderboards because Stuff Plus and even the creator Eno Saris has said this, where it's really good in small samples. And what Stuff Plus is, it's a sabermetric model that grades the raw physical quality of a pitcher's pitches, the velocity, the movement, the spin, and the release point relative to league average. So in small samples, all it's doing is grading those pitches based on that criteria. And last season, he had a 95 Stuff Plus. Not great. This year, 115. Now, we all know he got that patented curveball, but it's the major improvements with the slider and the fastball and the changeup that have all taken big steps. And another reason I wanted to bring it up is a lot of people going into the season, not me, took the Cardinals over 68.5 wins. Cardinals fans, I believe, but a lot of people in baseball media threw the Cardinals to the side. And a big reason why was I don't like anybody in this starting rotation. I didn't expect Matthew Liberatore to be an ace. I still don't. But the Cardinals need to find pitchers to build around. And going into this season, Liberatore was kind of on the edge of that. I think this was a big prove-it year for him, right? Because if it was a sour season, you're probably like, he's not really a part of what we're building here, right? With J.J. Weatherholt, with Mason Wynn. Another player, Jordan Walker, has the second highest hard-hit baseball of the season so far. Junior Camanero's at the top at 116.9. But Jordan Walker popped to 114 already, looks better. The Cardinals are actively looking for guys to join the young core of Weatherholt, of Mason Wynn, and others. Can Liberatore be that guy? Because again, I know you've gone up and down on him. He's a complicated pitcher. You've been high, you've been low. The roller coaster, not quite educator, where that roller coaster is mostly up and stagnant.
Yeah, I know. This is a real roller coaster here.
This is genuinely up and down.
Yeah.
This is up and down.
And he's still somehow 26.
I know. That's
crazy.
I wanted to bring it up. And Jordan Walker is 23. These guys are not old.
I know. And it's a different infrastructure now from a player development side of things. Chaim Bloom is shaking things up over there. And I think that's an important thing. Like for these players that have stalled out a little bit, we saw in recent years just that Mozeliak was fantastic for so long, but I think things went stale there. And for your young players that are struggling, to just get a new set of eyes on them, just it's almost like a second opinion when you have an issue, but a second opinion from a more cutting edge doctor that's studied the more modern books. I think that really makes a difference. And when you look at Liberatore stuff, I don't know if it's going to last, but you mentioned the Stuff Plus side of things. And when I look at the pitch plot, like the gyro slider has a little bit more vertical action to it. The fastball has a little bit more cut. And it's a more cut ride, and then instead of a little bit more of the traditional shape. I think those are two things that are huge. The other is that his cutter historically just got crushed. He's just throwing it less. His sinker used to get hit hard. He's just throwing it less. So the four-seamer's better, throw it more. The slider's better, throw it more. Your cutter sucks, throw it less. And I think those things might work. So I'm excited. Like, should he be their opening day starter when they're getting more competitive? No. But if this is a guy that ends up blossoming into a solid number 4 starter for him or a solid middle rotation guy for them, you can't rule that out. And I think the Cardinals, were very keen on, giving him every opportunity with the talent that he's always had. And I hope Liberatore keeps it going because it has been a kind of a turbulent, career for him thus far.
Speaking about the Cardinals, walk-off win against the Mets. They've now won 2 straight. They improved to 4-2. I know it's early.
Who hit it?
Mason Wynn. Another part of that young core. And guess who got intentionally walked? Avon Herrera, another part of that young
I wouldn't
core.
pitch to him either.
Right? So it's a team playing with nothing to lose. They intrigued me early on because I'm thinking to myself, I don't know really what to expect from this rotation. But at the same time, I know what left. Miles Michaelis and Eric Fetty gave up a trillion runs. And I'm thinking to myself, how worse can it be? Right? And then the bullpen, they got a couple of young arms there too. Swanson, Riley O'Brien. They might end up trading JoJo Romero, sure, but it's just they got a certain excitement.
They've got a youthful competitive energy to them.
And they're not the Marlins a little bit, where it's like there's some young pieces here and you're trying to figure it out and you see a plan forward. And that's what any fan wants if they're rooting for a team that is in rebuilding mode. Just give us a plan. Sitting in purgatory is a nightmare. It's a 100%. Nightmare, right? Well, you never want to be 80 and 82. I'd rather be 68 wins. Well, actually 69. I need that over win total. And have a plan forward. And I feel like that's happening here.
The last thing I'll mention on that front is I judge a team and kind of where they're at and how spunky they're going to be based on like where the bottom of the order, maybe corner outfield spot, what kind of players there. There's some teams where, like, no offense, don't mean to send a stray his way, but like you got like Tristan Peters, who's just a time buyer for the White Sox. And like, you're just playing Andrew Benintendi out there because sunk cost fallacy and you're paying him anyways and you're rebuilding. You might as well just put him out there and justify the expenditure. The Cardinals have a guy like Nathan Church, who added bat speed and is a speedster, great defender. And that's really been interesting with the way he finished last year. And like, I want to see more of that guy. Could that guy be a 2 to 3 win outfielder? Maybe. Like, they're auditioning exciting young players out there instead of having time buyers. And I think those are the things that make me a little bit more excited about this team as well. They have a top 100 guy, Jimmy Crooks in AAA, catcher, who I think should have made the team, but I also understand you have Pedro Pages. You wanted to potentially get Herrera some more reps back there. You also have, a catcher that you're going to be playing every single day ahead of them as well. You have Crooks, who's hit 3 homers already in AAA, and a guy that I think should be up in the big leagues. He got a taste at the end of last year, get a little bit more run as well. You've got other players like, can Quinn Matthews bounce back and have a better year this coming season? Like, what else do they have going on there? So there's other players that could be on the way. And I think this Cardinals rebuild could be a little bit quicker than people expected.
And we're supposed to end after that. That's all I had written on my list that I wanted to talk about. But can we quickly talk about how Cam Schlittler?
I was going to say, I was going to bring that up so you didn't have to feel like you were bringing it up. You're not a Yankees fan for bringing up Cam Schlittler. This guy is outrageous.
Can we get real excited for a second? 5 innings, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts, 55 pitches through 5. Again, we're recording. I haven't been able to watch it.
Yeah, Paul Goldschmidt just went yard off a George Kirby 3-run homer.
4-0 Yanks. I mean, they're leading the league in challenges 1. They're about to take 2 of 3 from the Mariners. And you have Cam Schlittler doing this. I don't actually care about the first 2. I mean, I do. I want wins. But can you...
He's just so
I'm having trouble containing my excitement for him.
He's
because
so
I said going
efficient.
into the season, I wanted to lower expectations a little bit. But after this, blowing 100 by dudes, I'm starting to get wild here.
So efficient. I mean, 55 pitches through 5 innings here. He's not walking guys. Like, they think that's the biggest thing we've seen through the first 2 starts. And then they only let him go, 68 or something pitches last time out, but super efficient, right? Like, mowing through the lineup. If Cam Schlittler is this efficient with his stuff, I mean, this is a difference maker. You get Cole back in the rotation later. We'll see if Weathers, I thought he was pretty solid first time out. I know spring is a spring, doesn't matter as much. And then you get Rodon back and whatever. The pitching situation for the Yankees is really, really exciting. And it starts with this version of Cam Schlittler, who we saw in the second half of last year when he got up there. And why can't he be better after building off of that? And right now, in the early going through 2 starts, he looks better than he was last year. And then he was damn good at the end of last year.
Podcast P just said the velo was down for Cam Schlittler, and he's still cooking. Let's go to Baseball Savant real quick and look at the fastball velocity. Average 96.8 today, which is down 1.7 miles an hour. Every single pitch is down about a mile an hour. Not ideal, but it doesn't seem to matter because the stuff is already elite. So if you see a slight downtick, we good.
Yeah.
We good over here.
Yeah, and they don't seem to be worried about it if he's still out there. So
only 55 pitches. So that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Unless you got another hidden thing, I'm thinking Schlittler, you're good.
That's all I got.
Tomorrow.
That's all I got. A lot of fun stuff continuing to happen. So much young talent, so many players making leaps. Is it real? Is it not? Sometimes we get excited and then it's not real, but that's the whole fun part about live reacting to this stuff. So early going, just trying to figure out as many trends and identify them as possible. So I think there's even more to discuss pretty consistently, and yeah, I'm pumped about it.
And we'll be talking about it tomorrow. So that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. The best way to support, especially thank you to all of you guys joining here live on YouTube. Before you go, if you enjoyed, can you just smash the like button and make sure you hit that subscribe button? And if you're listening to us after the fact on audio, 5-star review would be greatly, greatly appreciated. And if you have an additional moment, please leave a written review. Go get your Just Baseball merch. You can find that in the episode description, as well as the 3-day free trial to the best baseball group chat in the world. That will end today. It was supposed to end March 31st. I extended it one extra day. If you want to join, again, you can find that link in the episode description. Want a big shout out for Podcast P for all the stats and producing brilliantly, Aram for dropping bars, and me for just getting excited. That'll do it here. For Aram, I'm Peter. We'll see you tomorrow. And with that, thank you, everybody.